Good morning everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Saturday today and I'm not walking this morning. And the reason I'm not walking is because I'm going running instead. So I've had to flip my plans a little bit. My injuries and my rehab for those injuries is a bit of a pain in the arse, but what I'm trying to do is have a rest day in between my runs, which means, as I was looking at my plan for the weekend, if I run tomorrow, running on Monday probably isn't the smartest idea. So I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to make my 10k, which is a hike, tomorrow, and I'll do my run today. Which means I'm in the gym lifting. Normally this is my Sunday activity in my humble little garage gym, as you can see. Reminds me a little bit of working out on operations, which is kind of the vibe and mindset that I try and get in while I'm in here. Just dead basic, got a pull-up rack, I can do dips on it. I'm sitting on a step-up box, I've got one down there on the floor. Load of dumbbells, kettlebells and stuff. It's super basic, but it works and I like the grittiness of it. And honestly, I actually prefer working out in here than I do in a pure gym sometimes. Got battle ropes over in the corner there. So I thought, yeah, mix it up. Also thought I would test out a bit of a contingency because I was chatting to Joe about this yesterday. He's like, what are you going to do when it's snowing? What are you going to do when it's horrendous weather? Because we've got lucky with the weather doing these videos every single morning. And I said, I'm always looking forward to the opportunity to doing it anyway. Because, I've kind of, I don't like catchphrases, but I've kind of made it a little bit of a catchphrase almost, haven't I? Of like, we do it anyway. So it's cold, can't be asked, we do it anyway. I've changed my plans for this morning, but I made a commitment to doing these videos, so we do it anyway. So it's Manchester Derby tomorrow, and it's got me thinking. I could have done more content this morning talking about how I think the match is going to go. I would say I am confident going into this. The metrics are starting to look in United's favour. But I'm not going to cover the match too much because obviously I've got a preview coming out in like a few hours. So I'm not going to go bananas in terms of talking about how City play, how United play. I'm just going to say, I'm pretty confident going into the game because I think United have got the tools to hurt City. And that was what was taking away a lot of my confidence last season was I would look at United's lineup and I'd go, can we keep a clean sheet? Not really. Can we score? Yeah. Can we outscore? Not really. Did you go into the games having the confidence that that 11 would score against anyone? Not really. And I think that's what's different this year. Not only have you look around that team, and even with injuries to the likes of Cunha, Sesko not being fully fit, you look at that team and you go, I think there's goals in that team. And whether that's Bruno, which has always got goals, and I think the disrespect Bruno gets as a player is insane. Listen, my opinion is I don't think he's a natural fit. I don't think any of the players we've got in that midfield are a natural fit. Can't deny his effectiveness and his goal-scoring ability. Bruno's got a goal in him at all times, or an assist. And then you look at Bryan Mbeumo. For me, that's the match winner without spoiler alert in my video coming out in a few hours. Of course he is. Like, did you think it was going to be anybody else that was the match winner, the potential match winner for Manchester United? Of course it's Bryan Mbeumo. But even the likes of Casemiro, I think Dorgu, Ahmad off the bench, even though he might start, I personally would bring him off the bench. I think there's goals in that. Don't know why I can smell De Ligt getting a goal from a set piece. And I still don't necessarily think there's clean sheets, and there's not with Bayern being in net. But I like the defence. I look at Leny Yoro and I go, bring it on. Who are you going to put against him? Foden, Doku. I back him. Erling Haaland, you go, yeah, serious goal scorer. But when you put Matthijs de Ligt up against him, combative, lightweight Matthijs de Ligt, I back him. And even though this team is far from perfect, and of course it finished 15th last season, I see the signs of improvement in us. And the metrics are showing that. Now, the metrics aren't everything, the stats are not everything. But even on the eye test, we look dangerous against Arsenal. We look dangerous for the first 20 minutes against Fulham. And I think just it's consistency. Score the goals that you should have scored against Arsenal. Play like you started to play against Fulham. You're not asking Manchester United to do anything different with the ball. Now, importantly, off the ball, specifically corners and crosses, you're asking us to do different stuff. But I think it's stuff you can work on. You're not asking Bryan Mbeumo to be a player that he's not. You're not asking Matheus Cunha to be a player that he's not. You're asking for a little bit more organisation, aggression and quality at set pieces, and all of those players have done that before. You're not asking them to do stuff they've never done before, and I think that's important. So I do go into the Manchester City game with confidence. Manchester City's form also gives me confidence. This is not the unbeatable Manchester City team that we've seen in recent years. This is nowhere near the unbeatable Manchester City team we've seen in years. And that's what makes me go into this game going, I'm looking forward to this. I am looking forward to this. So yeah, I had to mix my plans up a little bit today as well, because match day, I've got basically from now, finish off lifting in here. We're doing some deadlifts with the big Bertha kettlebell behind me. She's a big one. She's 48 kg. 106 pound, 48 kg. She's a big girl. Want to be able to get to the point I can do a Turkish get up with that without looking like I'm having a fit. I think we'll be strong once we've got to that level. Not there yet. But yeah, basically busy from now. Finish my lift, go and get my little one ready for gymnastics, drop her off while she goes and does gymnastics, hit my run. Once I've done my run, quick shower, changed, out the door, got to go and pick KO'd up in the centre of town for today's game, and then off to Winsford, who've got a perfect record. So it's not going to be an easy game for us. After losing our own perfect record last week, picking up a win today would be really big for us. I've got a strong team out, got a team I believe in. I've got a team that is capable of getting a win, but you know, we were capable of getting the win last week and we didn't deliver. So that's where we've got to be better today. But it's all good, isn't it? It's what we do it for. I've done two really cool podcasts this week. Really cool podcasts. One with a person who's a friend and one with a person I didn't know prior to them coming on the podcast. If you'd like to check them out, I submitted it to Apple Podcasts yesterday, so it should start to show up on your Apple Podcasts. I'm still waiting to do it on Amazon and stuff like that, but if you prefer to listen to the Stephen Howson podcast rather than watching it on YouTube, then you've got the options for Spotify and Apple. Apple will be coming soon if it's not there already. But the response to Jay's has been, honestly, what I thought the response to Jay's both was and deserves to be. I'm glad we got to tell Jay's proper story. And I'm very much looking forward to you guys seeing the rest of them. If you've not so far, I mean, there's literally hundreds of people just joined the Patreon. But if you've not, I actually watched back so we did the hot debrief, right? So the hot debrief is producer Amy, who is the podcast producer, and me, we sit down and we make a video out of every guest that we've had. So you get the public-facing podcast for every one of our guests that we've had. But what I do for a warm-up with all of our guests is I ask them three almost identical questions. The three identical questions are, what's your go-to meal deal and where do you get it from? Because you'd be surprised at the answers that come back at that. Then I did ask them what film did they hate, but no one was giving me a good answer for that, so I switched it to what actor do you hate? And actually that's getting some pretty good answers. And I've started asking everyone, what's one thing that society does that you think is a load of bollocks? Completely disagree with. And that can throw up some interesting questions. So I do like 10 minutes or so as a warm-up, and we kind of do it to test the cameras, test the audio, as well as like get the guest into the habit of warming up and talking. What you don't want to do is just sit down, not have spoken to the guest, turn the cameras on and be like, right, talk, empty your heart out and tell me everything about your life, go. You're never going to get a good response by doing that. So we do a bit of a warm-up, but what we do with that warm-up is we keep all of it, we throw it on Patreon because it's entertaining. And then we mix that in with, as soon as the guest leaves, I sit down with producer Amy, and we kind of do our literal hot debrief. Right, how did that go? What went right? What went wrong? And if Janine's in there, because Janine's a gobshite that can't keep quiet from the cheap seats, then she starts heckling. And I was cracking up listening back because I forgot after what happened with the J podcast. But Janine's heckling from the cheap seats, talking about addiction, and Janine reckons I'm addicted to shopping and starts having me off about how many shoes and trainers and stuff and water bottles and that I have. So I thought it was quite funny. And the hot debriefs have increasingly almost become their own kind of little podcast. So go and check them out. They're on Patreon. What we'll start to do as well is upload them for YouTube memberships as well. So YouTube membership and Patreon membership will be essentially the same thing. So if you prefer one over the other, you can just get it and you get all the extra content either way. Stuck into the Telegram group last night and was talking to people about all sorts of other stuff like that. And it's been good to get everyone's feedback in that group. Really enjoying that little community that we didn't have this time last week. So that's a win. But I was impressed with what we did yesterday with that video and the comments that we got on that video yesterday, considering that I deliberately titled it Nothing Football Related, just to see what sort of interest there was in people coming and getting involved in the morning. And it gave me the confidence to say, do you know what? Yeah, this is something that we're doing. And you know, those messages in the morning mean a lot. And someone said, is it adding pressure for me to do these videos in the morning? It is, yeah. But they're not hard to do. And there's probably some level of therapy for me, just sitting here and talking totally off the cuff, like I got any fucking notes here. I just sat down and turned it on and thought we'd talk. I did have an idea what I was going to talk about, and I've not ended up talking about it, but I'll give it you anyway. It's a freebie, right? Not going to be on the title, so you've had to stick around all the way to the end for this. So, Manchester City, the liars and the cheats. Stand by for this getting clipped up. Manchester City, the liars and the cheats, right? Why do we call them the liars? Because they just lie. You know, everyone in Manchester supports City. No, they don't, right? They really don't. And the no history thing, of course they've got history. But you were a nothing club until the Sheikhs came in, or even until Frank Sinatra came in, let's be honest with ourselves. So, the one thing that they like to claim is that they've got the biggest attendance in English football. Now, technically, Tottenham Hotspur have got the biggest attendance in English football. I think it was Leverkusen. Do you know when they was using Wembley while their stadium was being renovated? 85,000 people watched them at Wembley for that. It was a group stage of the Champions League. Manchester City have got the second highest, but it's the highest domestic one. Technically because they were the home team. But it does not necessarily mean that it was entirely just City fans that was in the stadium that day. And I'll give you the evidence for why. So, 84,000 people turned up at Main Road, 3rd of October 1934, for a FA Cup 6th-round game against Stoke. Now, 84,000, hell of a lot of people. At the time, City were averaging somewhere in the region of about 20-odd thousand. Their previous home game, I think they got 22,000 against Middlesbrough the week before. United was about the same at the time, mid-30s. United was shit at the time. Stoke were averaging about 40k. Stoke were a big team. Stoke were the biggest team, actually. And the reports of the time reckon that Stoke travelled with 25,000 for that game. Put on special trains to get there. Now, United are actually playing that day, same day, which is rare. So you can't go, it was all United fans. However, there is talk that somewhere in the region of 25,000 United fans actually went to that game. United played the same day, and we had one of our historically lowest crowds, about 11,000. So I think it's safe to say a significant portion of United fans went that day as well. As well as, I think the crowd was potentially split three ways. Possibly United being the smallest third of that crowd, but I think the crowd was probably split three ways. But you can't have it both ways, Blues. You can't say you've got the biggest attendance in England when the week before you had a quarter of that. So you're either Glory supporters and have been since the get-go, or that crowd wasn't City fans. Which is it? Whereas Manchester United, when we were in the second division, had the highest attendance in England. No further questions, Your Honour. Anyway, it is Saturday. It is time to go and get on with the jobs for the rest of the day. It's going to go quick. We've got gymnastics, running, get back, shower, fucking drive a 30-year-old car on the motorway and hope it doesn't fucking crumble down on me. Go pick KO'd up, go and get 3 points. Get back on track. I think Janine's off out tonight, so might see about taking Bambino to the pictures or something like that. Is there anything good on? Let me know what you guys are up to in the comments. If you're interested in coming joining that Telegram group, which is honestly, I don't know if we need to put some policy in there, like if you're a bell that you go, but no one's a bell. Everyone that's come in's been fucking mad cool. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, check the link in the description. Patreon's getting all sorts of extra content. There's the hot debriefs. As of in about a week, you're going to be getting behind the scenes vlogs from inside the office where you see a little bit behind the workings of both Paddock FC and the fan channel and my own channel and all the rest of that sort of shit. As well as the vids with myself and Amy and me being abused by my wife. If you're interested in all that sort of shit, or you just want to support the channel, then come get in the mixer. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you are part of the Telegram group, drop it in there and tell people how good you think it is, or if you're enjoying it, or if you're not enjoying it, whatever. Just fucking talk to the people, innit? Laters. Enjoy the game.